You'd have noticed around you, friends, family members, migrating abroad, pretty common thing now. But guess what? Some of those migrating abroad are also renouncing their Indian citizenship. In 2023, that number stood at 2,16,219 Indians, slightly lower than the number of Indians who renounced their citizenship in 2022, which is 2,25,620. However, one still wonders, in an India of today, clocking growth over its Western peers, being labelled as a bright spot by several investors, global corporates, why is it that the country is failing to stop its citizens from leaving foreign shores? What does the government have to say about it? It has emphasized that there is a significance of a prosperous diaspora in enhancing India's global influence. So the big question is, how can India arrest that trend? And is this necessarily bad news? To discuss that and more, I'm now joined by Prabal Basu Roy, the Board of Directors, Intellect Payments Limited, and Advisor of Board Chairperson. Thank you very much, Mr. Basu Roy, for joining us this evening. I want to first understand from you, when we speak about Viksit Bharat, India being a bright spot in the global economy and of course clocking a growth of anywhere between 7 to 8%, many investors also looking at investing in India. But many Indians do not really seem to be convinced as far as their growth is concerned or what they consider their growth in India is concerned. And it's not really a small number of people actually giving up their citizenship, Indian citizenship. Why is that happening, and what can India do to arrest that?
Hi, Sumita. Good evening. See, this is a complex question, and I'll take a few minutes to sort of give you my thoughts on it. See, the minister in the parliament said that this is a personal choice of the person migrating. That is, of course, true. But it does not answer the basic question, why are people making that choice? I can give you my personal example as a data point from the perspective of a professional. In 2000, at the peak of my career, I came back to India without Amrit Kaal being a slogan at that time, because I had seen it, like many of us, that it was a land of opportunities at the early stage of the telecom revolution at that time, the internet, etc. And I have no regret whatsoever in these 25 years, as salaries, earnings, wealth creation, quality of life, all have immensely benefited us. So the question now is, why is it that in the eyes of those migrating today and in large numbers, as you said, what is changed now, or what is it that they are not seeing? Opportunities, earnings, and wealth creation are still immense. According to me, they are still immense, and it's there for everyone to see. What has changed, in my view, are few things, and that is to do with the quality of life. I think the air we breathe, the chaos on the streets, the lawlessness and the lack of respect for the common good, and the intent, following the intent of the law rather than the word, progressively higher taxation, no direct benefits in terms of healthcare or education, which is getting more and more expensive. So this is, I think, one of the main reasons why people might be looking at this. But all this is for professionals, mind you, professionals like us. For the super rich businessmen who sort of move out, there could be a different set of reasons. And that perhaps is, from what I hear, is the fear of the law. Of course, higher taxes, a potentially, a wealth transfer in terms of inheritance tax, which of course has not happened till now, but there's always this thing in the air in terms of wealth transfer and things of that nature. So fear of the taxation regime.
We keep gloating about some of the biggest CEOs in the United States being from India or for those big tech companies. But India really, from the figures that they look, clearly not doing enough to make them stay here and build those companies right here. I want to understand from you, is this necessarily bad news? Because the government states that this is happening due to personal reasons. And of course, India can very well capitalize on that diaspora abroad.
See, capitalizing the diaspora is a result. If you have a diaspora, you would like to capitalize on it. That's fine. But that's not the issue here. The issue is, if Amrit Kaal is indeed here, and it is a land of opportunities, as I rightly said, for wealth creation and all, why is it that people even think of leaving? That is the basic question out here. The question is not that when you go abroad, you become a Satya Nadella or etc. Of course, those opportunities also exist, and there the gap is very large. But how many such people are there? There are very few. So people, the general people who leave, and especially for the businessmen and professionals I spoke about, but the businessman class, I mean, the fear of the taxation regime and those sort of things, and the fear of the law, really. So let's look at tax, for example. I mean, just let me give you some figures on the tax. Let's say a minimum of 1 crore is the income, right? For baseline for professionals these days. The income tax is 35%, is 35 rupees. Your consumption, let's say you do 2 lakhs rupees a month at 15% GST average, you will pay about 4 lakhs. Then there is capital gains. Then there is STT. Then there is full taxes, which is not part of this. So effectively, it comes to 45 to 50%, and it's progressively increasing, mind you. Then there's the fear of the judicial process itself, right? Unfortunately, going through the legal process in the country today is the punishment we are seeing in many, is the punishment itself, as we are seeing in many celebrated cases. So these are sort of things which are affecting the quality of life, according to me. Civic infrastructure. I mean, you have collapsing bridges, you have rail accidents, all of that.
Perhaps the government can do a lot more to improve the quality of life. In fact, just 2 days back, we were speaking of a complete infrastructure breakdown in just 2 hours of rain right here in the heart of the national capital. Of course, smog and pollution are a routine affair, are a yearly affair. However, little really has been done to sort of deal with those issues. And of course, Mr. Roy, this besides the fact that the government is investing heavily as far as infrastructure creation is concerned. You may have also seen the kind of budget announcements that came in. But I want to now ask you, how are these nations doing things differently than India? I mean, you spoke about tax stops in Dubai, a luxurious lifestyle. But what about the less popular nations like Portugal, Antigua and Barbuda? What are these nations offering?
See, Portugal very clearly is Portugal, for example. I mean, it's an example I can give you. It's clearly a tax arbitrage issue, nothing more than that. Tax arbitrage and a good quality of life, where you can be sure of what you're getting from the government in terms of the taxes you pay, whether it be healthcare, education, etc., or clean roads and not collapsing bridges and stuff like that. So it's basically that. And that is what they're offering. I mean, these countries don't have too many economic opportunities in that sense, like the US has. But people are still migrating there because they've made enough money in India. So India is the land of opportunities. As I said in my budget interview after, with some channels, I think this is a very good budget, etc. But the execution is what, is the concern today at the ground level, So that is what creates concerns amongst people, according to me. You deal with the local guy, the local government functionary, the policeman, the corporation guy. There's a flood in the roads, stuff of that nature. I can go on. I mean, I can give a lot of examples, but we all know.
Right. So, so obviously, improving the quality of life of citizens is something that the government should certainly look at. But so let me also ask you, India doesn't offer dual citizenship. Is that something that the government could perhaps revisit? I mean, if I were to give you numbers of the past 5 years in terms of the kind of, the numbers of Indians who gave up citizenship, in 2022, it was the highest at 2,25,620. It came down during COVID period, 85,256. But again, it has shot up to 2,16,219 with not much of a gap between 2022 to 2023. So again, my question is, granting dual citizenship, is that something that the government could perhaps look at?
Yeah, it can do that, but what purpose does it serve? Your people have still left the country, right? I mean, just because you have a dual citizenship allows you for certain rights, that's fine. But, the productive labor of the country, the best of the country are leaving. That is the focus that is the right question to ask. And I presume that is the reason we are having this program today, because it's a serious issue. Dual citizenship won't solve any of that.
One final question, sir, before...
Yeah.
Yes. So basically the core of the issue is to make sure that people stay back, giving them opportunities, providing proper infrastructure, and of course easing the ease of doing business, amongst other things that you spoke about. And of course, dual citizenship is not something that is the criteria, that is the key issue at this point. But let me ask you one final question before we let you know. The government from its side has said that it recognizes the potential of the global workplace in an era of a knowledge economy. How do you really see that statement, given that economies are coming increasingly closer, and it is a global village after all? I mean, there is AI integration happening, technology is developing so fast. In a way, the government is then saying that focus on the global workforce, and that really will also, improve India's stance in the global economy.
Yeah, it will. To a certain degree, it will. Of course, it will. But the world has been a global village from the mid-90s, ever since internet and telecom revolution started. So it's nothing new. I mean, these are good things to say, but it's nothing new as such. So in my view, giving my example, I mean, why I came back and why, that you need to attract your people back into India so that they work and the quality of the inputs which they give to the country. I mean, it's a different school of thought. My school of thought was that you come and build the country in any way you can. Now you can go out, you can send remittances back to India. All that will help, of course. But, if the best of the country move out, then there is a concern, is the way I would look at it. See, many things have changed at the core and are getting better, but the execution part at the ground level, it's still a very big problem. Very big problem. Yeah, of course. Of course.
That is a concern. That is a very big problem, and we do hope that the government really pays heed to it. It did announce a lot of announcements in the budget with respect to job creation, which has been a major concern with citizens as well. Infrastructure push, rural push, but we do hope that the government really pays heed as far as implementing those, proper implementation of those schemes is concerned. On that note, thanks very much, sir, for joining us this evening and sharing your thoughts on India Tonight.